Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome along to Data Platform Downunder. My name's Warwick Rudd, and I'm joined by my co-host, Martin Catherall, who, for this month's session, we're going to be having a look at Beyond the Basics, Discovering Power BI's Best Kept Secrets. Now, we're not giving this session, but we've got Lakshmi Ponarasan from Atlanta, Georgia, joining us to take us through what these best kept secrets are over the course of this session. This session is being recorded and will be made available on the Data Platform Downunder YouTube channel. For those of you who are joining us live, if you haven't already joined the YouTube channel, we will put that into the chat window so that you can feel free, join up to that Data Platform Downunder YouTube channel, where you can come back and watch this session, as well as any of the other sessions that we have previously hosted and put up onto the YouTube channel. Therefore, you're able to continue your data platform learning. So with that, I'll hand over to Lakshmi, who can take us through today's session.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Just sharing my screen right now. Okay, yep. So let's get started. The name of my session is Beyond the Basics, Discovering Power BI's Best Kept Secrets. So quick introduction about me. My name is Lakshmi, and you find you can scan the QR code right there. It will take you to my LinkedIn profile, my portfolio, and a couple of interesting stuff. And then I am one of the Power BI Database 2025 World Championship finalists. Apart from that, I'm also a Microsoft certified Power BI data analyst. So if you have any questions about the certification, please feel free to reach out to me. I am also a Microsoft MVP in the data platform category, specialized in Power BI. I post lots of tips and tricks about Power BI on LinkedIn. Also, I write detailed technical blogs on Medium. On a professional level, I am a data analyst at Missouri University of Science and Technology. I play with data almost every day, and Power BI is my favorite tool. On a personal note, I'm a dog mom, so that's my dog. That's Casper. We both love going on adventures, and both of us are foodies. And along with that, I am a huge advocate of diversity and inclusion. Enough about me. Let's get started. This session is going to be demo heavy, and then I have very, very few slides. So before we begin, I just want to quickly introduce why this session. Power BI is packed with a lot of hidden gems, and we know that it exists, but not many of them use it. And I am a big believer that small tweaks or small changes that we do can lead to big productivity. Also, by the end of the session, I want each one of you to take back one or two new Power BI tricks. And you will see Drake agreeing to me that just using the same old Power BI steps every time is old school now. We really need to explore all the hidden features because these features might make things faster and better. And what are you going to learn today? You're going to learn a couple of formatting secrets, couple of very visual specific tricks, slicer tricks, shortcuts, and I will share a few of my favorite hidden gems and a couple of bonus visuals as well. And the best part about the session is you will not need any custom visuals or third party tools. It's just going to be Power BI magic. So if you have Power BI desktop, you are all set. And that's pretty much about the presentation. We can quickly hop on to Power BI. Can I get a quick thumbs up or a quick reply if my Power BI screen is up? Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Great. So before we start, I want to first start with very, very basic, you could say secrets or basic gems, and then we will take it to a step further and learn more advanced things. First thing is I'm going to talk about page navigation. So you know how in Power BI desktop you can keep creating lots and lots of pages, and as data analysts that's what we do. We tend to keep creating new pages. We keep trying to visualize the same data in different ways. And then what happens is when you want to
मैट ने
navigate
भेजा है
from
तो अटेंड करने बोला है
and then what happens is when you want to navigate from one page to another, it becomes really hectic because you have to keep using the scroll buttons to find which page you want to go. Instead, you can do a right click on these arrows. You will get a list of all the pages that you have created in Power BI. So it's pretty much like from the first page, you can go to the last page directly, or again do a right click and go back to the first page. So that's a quick tip of how you can quickly navigate between pages. Next, we'll talk about zooming. So what happens by default is when you are creating a measure, so you see how it's tiny, and for people who wear glasses just like me, this is impossible to read. So what you can do is you can click Control and the plus button to zoom in and zoom out of the measure. So just repeating it again, use Control and plus to zoom in and Control minus to zoom out. So that's a quick tip, and I generally use it whenever I'm presenting something. Next, when you're moving visuals, so this is really important in the sense when you group different visuals. Let's just duplicate two visuals. Imagine I have two visuals like this, and then somehow I have to group these. After grouping, when you want to move the entire group, say you just randomly pick this visual and you tend to move, you see how the entire group did not move. It's just this visual moving. That causes a lot of confusion. In order to avoid confusions like this, whenever you move visuals inside your Power BI report, make sure you use these three dots that you see. So now, when I click these three dots and move my visual, you see how it moves as a group. So this is really, really important when you use a lot of grouped visuals. Let me quickly ungroup it and go back to my default. So yeah, that was a quick tip. Whenever you move visuals, do not try to move visuals using the in the center of the visual or anywhere else. Try to use these three dots. It really makes work easier. This is a very silly tip, but just want to tell you, like, there are a lot of keyboard shortcuts, and it's impossible for us to remember all of them. In order to bring all those keyboard shortcuts at one single place, you can use the shift and question mark on your keyboards. That will open up all the shortcuts that Power BI offers you. Next, this is my favorite. So sometimes you know how you want to jazz up a visual, maybe add some emojis or icons in the visual. Generally, what we tend to do is we go to Google, we type out particular icon's name, and then we copy it and then come back here and paste it. Instead, what you could do is, this is for all the Windows users. Say, let's say next to the title total profits, I want to add some icons to jazz up my dashboard. What you need to do is go to your title and then click the Windows icon followed by the period. You will have an emoji pop-up that pops up. And quick thing, this also works anywhere in your Windows. So even if you have your Excel on, you do Windows and the period symbol, you will get emojis. Once you get something like this, say, just type in what you're looking for. Say, I'm looking for dollars. Just hit dollars, select whatever you want. You see how it was easy to add emojis or icons to your visuals. So that was a quick tip just for people who want to make their reports fancy. So these are very, very basic rules, and I'm sure most of you knew what this was, but just wanted to share for all the newbies right here. Let's move one step further with field parameters. So how many of you here know what field parameters are or have used before? I would really appreciate if you could drop it in the chat or send me icons or react. I would love to know if you've played with field parameters before. Anyone? Cool, let's proceed. So say I have two visuals on my screen. Both the visuals have the same y-axis, which is my food item. You see pizza, you see pasta, you see fries. On the x-axis, the first visual has currency. You see, we have a dollar sign, total profits. The second visual just has numbers. So basically, that's my total quantity. You see how Both of the visuals are very insightful, but do you see how it occupies more space? In the sense, my y-axis is the same. Why do I need to have two different visuals? So Power BI came up with something called field parameters, which is really helpful when you want to fix one of the axes and make sure the other axis is dynamic. So in this case, let me just move this right here. In this case, what my expectation is, on the y-axis, I should always have my food, and then the y-axis should always be my food, and the axis should dynamically change. If I'm going to select profits, show me in dollars. If I'm just going to select quantity, show me plain numbers. The way you do this is use field parameters. You go to the modeling tab on the top, hit on new parameter and choose field parameter. Very simple. You just got to name your parameters. Let me just do food parameter, and then you got to choose which particular measure. What are you trying to display? In this case, I'm just displaying my simple profits and simple quantity, and then hit create. What happens is Power BI will create a slicer for you automatically. And then now there are a couple of changes that you need to do. First, let's get rid of the redundant visual. Next, since I told you my x-axis needs to be dynamic, I will have to go and make a quick change, get rid of my old x-axis, and remember the new parameter that I made, just drag and drop it. So that's it. Now what you see on the screen is the same visual showing two values, my profit as well as quantity. Now what I have to do is the slicer that Power BI automatically gave me, I am going to go ahead and make it a single select. This way, when I click total profits, I get all my values in dollars. When I click total quantity, I get everything in plain numbers. So basically, instead of using two different visuals to almost show the same data and have redundant type of visuals, I can just have one visual with a beautiful slicer. And this actually helps improve the user experience as well, because as humans, we love clicking here and there. Now, quick tips on how I make this more aesthetic is I do a couple of changes in the formatting settings of the slicer. I get rid of the slicer header, and then I simply convert it into a small tile like this. And then I just put it right here inside the visual. Basically, I'm just grouping my related visual together. Now, this way, as an end user, if I'm going to land at this visual, I would really love playing around this visuals and seeing how my value changes. Now, quick tips for those who already knew what field parameters were is once you create a field parameter, Power BI automatically comes up with an expression like this. Now, using expressions like this, there are a lot of amazing things that we could do. First, I want to rename. So you see how I have total profits and total quantity. I do not really need to have the word total. So what you can do is the edit it in the expression itself. You do not have to go ahead and make a new parameter. Simple, just get rid of the word total here, get rid of the word total here, and then let's just hit enter. Once you do that, you see how total just vanished. Now, say you feel like you want to see quantity first and then you want to see the profits. Simply go back to the expression, interchange the numbers right here, and you're good to go. So pretty simple of how you could use field parameters, how you can edit the names of the field parameters with the expression that Power BI gave you, and how you could change the order. So that's pretty much about field parameters. Next, we're going to talk about slices. So all of us, whenever we create reports, we tend to have a lot of slices. These slices really help you to drill down data, to filter out the required data. But what happens is, as developer, so since I am a data analyst, this is a mistake I often catch myself doing sometimes, is after we create a visual, we do a quick test So we go play around with the values, we select a couple of values, and then we make a couple of changes. And then when we are like, okay, my value matches, I go ahead and publish it. Now, the thing here is once I make a couple of selections, so say in the month slicer, I have selected a couple of months. In the food items, I've selected a couple of food items. And then you see the quantity I've selected as 22. When I publish this, the slicer value selections also get saved and published. Now, if my end user has no idea about Power BI, he's directly going to look into the visual. The numbers are going to be wrong because I have a couple of selections that my user is not aware. So what I tend to do is always add a small button. Clicking the button clears off all my slicers, and then I go ahead and publish it. Initially, I had to do this using bookmarks, which is a concept, which is a black box concept for me because I never remember what I added in a bookmark. Now, Power BI has inbuilt clear all slices button. You go to insert, you go to buttons, and then you see there are these two new buttons called apply all slices and clear all slices. Simply hit on clear all slices. So this is the clear all slices button that I was talking about. What it does is once I select clear all slices, so just keep an eye on these selections. You see how everything gets cleared, and I'm going to see all my months, all my food items, and all my quantities. So going back, does it take me back? Okay, never mind. So this was the use of the clear all slices. So just go to insert buttons, hit clear all slices. Now, quick formatting tips right here. If you think you do not want to have a button shouting at you, clear all slices, you want to make it a little more subtle. And there are a couple of formatting settings that you need to do. So what I do in my day-to-day life is first is I get rid of the text inside it. So you go to button style, switch off the text, and then I add an icon instead. So in the icon, Power BI has inbuilt icons. So you see here, right? Oh, I'm sorry. You see right here, lot of icons available. Like this is a back icon. This is a reset option. You have a question mark for help. What I tend to do is I just use the reset option and then reduce the weight, just trying to make it a little more subtle. Oh, and then the border, I make it even more smaller. And then I just stick it somewhere next to my slicer like this so that before I publish my reports, I just hit clear all slices, make sure everything is selected, and then I go ahead and publish it. So that was a quick tip of how you could use the clear all slices. And the best part about the clear all slices is if you are syncing your slices between two pages, if you clear the slices in this page, it will clear the slices in all the other pages too. So that's great, right? You don't have to keep adding the clear all slices in all the pages. Quickly looking into the chat, no questions. Perfect. If you have any questions, please drop it in the chat. I will take any questions right then and there. Next, let's talk about search options. So say I have a slicer with a list of months right here, but I don't really want to go down, scroll, and find out what month I'm talking about. I pretty much know what I'm talking about. Like, I want to know about November. So, what you could do to make the user experience improve is add a search option. Now, by default, you will never find a search option in the formatting settings. You have to go to these three dots above the slicer and then enable the search option. Once you enable the search option, you will get a search bar like this, wherein you can go type and search your option. This makes work really easy, plus improves the user experience. The user doesn't have to scroll down or look for search line by line, looking for the particular option. So make sure in every slicer, just go to the three dots, enable your search option. That's it. Very easy, makes work easy for the end user as well. So that was pretty much about the filters and slicers hidden secrets. Any questions so far? Please feel free to drop it in the chat. Great. Next, alignments. So if you are a Power BI developer, you know how it's really frustrating when you're trying to align visuals. equally. That's the point here. Aligning visuals is very easy, but making sure they are perfectly spaced and perfectly aligned takes a lot of practice. Power BI has some inbuilt, I would say, helpers who make this work easier. On the screen right here, you see three KPI cards, which are clearly not in a proper alignment. Simple way to align this is either do it manually. So what you're going to do is you're going to squint your eyes and keep guessing if these are aligned, or use these smart guides that you see on the screen. Instead, what you could do is click on all these KPI cards, go to format, go to align. Now here you will see options like align top, align middle, align bottom. Just select an anchor point. For example, I am selecting the middlemost KPI and then hit align middle. What happens is Power BI will automatically align all the other visuals according to the middlemost KPI card. So by middlemost, I mean the position, not the count. So this also works vertically. So now you see there are three vertical KPI cards right here. What you have to do is click these three vertical KPI cards, go to format, go to align, and then choose align left, center, or right. Say let's stick to align left. Once you select align left, you will see all the other visuals aligned perfectly, keeping left as the anchor point. So you see how you can save lot of time uh, squinting your eyes and trying to manually align everything. So make sure you use the align option. Now, what happens is once we get the perfect alignment, the next headache that we have to pass through is spacing. Now, how do I know the space between the two KPI cards are perfect? Is again, we just have to do like a manual guess and make sure that looks somewhat equally spaced. Instead of guessing, you could use the spacing option given by Power BI. So now you see these three KPI cards, which are clearly not equally spaced. You see how there's very little space between these KPI cards and huge space between these KPI cards. What you could do is maybe manually make sure they are almost equal and then hit select all the KPI cards together. Again, go back to format, and then in the align option, you have something called distribute horizontally. Hit distribute horizontally. Now you will see that they are equally spaced. You did not have to guess. You did not have to manually move anything. Similar is the case with the vertical spacing. Say, I'm just going to click these three cards, go to format, go to align, and then distribute vertically. That's it. That was as simple as that. Now, let's put alignment and spacing together. Let's take an example of just these three cards for now. First, I am going to make sure that they are not aligned properly. And then I'm going to make sure they're not at all spaced properly. So this is a classic example. Now, what I have to do is click all of them together. First, I'm going to space them. So I'm going to distribute them horizontally. That's done. Next, I'm going to make sure they are aligned together. That's it. So just by two clicks, I could align these visuals as well as space them easily. Any questions so far? No questions? Perfect. I hope everyone is enjoying the session, learning something out of it. Great. Next, let's move to, yes. So now, if you're a Power BI developer, what happens is, say, I am deciding to increase the font size of my title. The way I do that is I go to title, I go to font size, and then either I randomly type in a number, say 18, or I don't like it, I go for 15. Or what I do is I use these up arrows and little down arrows. So basically, you just do clickety clicks on your mouse, go up, and then you go down. Instead, what you could do is select the entire number. And you know how your mouse has the scroll option, the scroll button? You could use these scroll buttons inside this text box to increase your size or decrease your size. So basically, you do not have to click those arrows up, 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 or down, down, down. You could just use this scroll button to increase or decrease your size. It really helps me because I really get disturbed by those sounds. That was a quick tip. Another quick tip right here is, say you have a beautiful visual, you did a lot of changes, you made it colorful. So everywhere you see purple, that's because purple is my favorite color. But then suddenly someone comes to you and tells them that this doesn't look good. Can you go back to the initial stage? Now, you do not have to create the visual from scratch. You can always go back to the default setting just by a single click. All you have to do is in your format menu, go to these three dots and hit reset all settings to default. Once you do that, you will go back to your default settings. So you don't have to start from scratch. Just use that particular option which says reset all to default to go back to your original design. Next, let's take it a little more. And these are very visual specific secrets. Let's first talk about tables. So tables are the visuals that we use the most, or at least I use the most for maybe EDA purposes, or maybe when I want to create a drill through or a drill down. So whenever we create a table, so let me create a table from scratch. What I do is say I select food and then I select cast and then convert it into a table. This is the default table visual that I get. Now, something about me, I hate how it looks by default. There are a couple of formattings that I always do, even if I do not have to present it to the end user. What you have to do is, first thing, tables have lots and lots of formatting. If you are a newbie to Power BI, you do not have to worry about these formattings. You simply have to go to Style Presets, and then under Style, you will see there are lots of options that Power BI gives you. Let's click on, say, bold header. You see how there was formatting change that took place and my headers are bold right now. And then there's something called alternating rows. You see how my food and total are highlighted. I mean, the column headers and totals are highlighted. All the others are in alternate colors. So you can go ahead, play around with these style presets and see what suits you. Coming to me, my favorite is sparse. So this is the style preset that I tend to use. But along with this, I do a small setting change wherein I get rid of those black backgrounds. So basically, I just convert my black backgrounds to white, convert my text color to black, and then I always you add my grids because I like my grids. So I like to keep my tables like this. Makes it very easy on the eyes, and your end users will absolutely appreciate it. So make sure you use style presets. You do not have to worry about each and every settings in the visual. Next, a very interesting concept called clustering. Now, Power BI has an inbuilt feature of clustering wherein it groups the visuals according to the column you choose into different clusters, basically different groups. In the use case right here, what I want to do is I have food items. I want to simply classify my food items into two categories: items which are doing good or items which are not doing good, or maybe items with low cost and items with high cost. Now, when you have to do something like this, the first thing that comes to your head is, oh, maybe I have to use some complex DAX. You do not have to. In the table visual, go to the three dots on the top. You will find something called automatically find clusters. Once you hit automatically find clusters, you will get a screen like this wherein you just have to type in the number of clusters, basically number of groups. Now in this use case, I just said two, so let's just stick to two and then hit OK. After you hit OK, you will see clusters being formed and then displayed in your table. So what you see right here is I have cluster 1, say 620 and below, and then I have cluster 2 with onion rings, pizza, and pasta. So this is a quick way of how you could cluster data, form groups of data so that you can do deep analysis with these clusters. Now, when you use this, just keep one thing in mind is Power BI will automatically create clusters using the minimum and maximum value. Basically, you cannot define what the range of each cluster is. Now, if you are interested to do that, I have another quick trick that you could use to create clusters based on ranges. This was a quick tip of how a simple table can be made more insightful by using clusters. Now, let's move on to hierarchies. Now, say your visual has an hierarchy. So you see how, or maybe let's just create it from scratch. I have a table visual, and then in my data, I have a hierarchy of order date. So hierarchy is simply year, quarter, month, and day. Now, by default, whenever you click on a hierarchy, Power BI will always split it into different columns like year, quarter, month, and day. Now, if there is a requirement wherein you don't really want to see four separate columns, you just want to have a single column wherein the date comes up, all you have to do is right click on the field where in the data field pane and then hit order date instead of date hierarchy. Once you do that, you will see the original order date come up as a column rather than individual columns. So that's a quick tip right here. Generally what people tend to do is they would create a new measure and they will concatenate everything together. That's way too memory consuming and time consuming. So this is a very quick tip. Just go to your field, do a right click and select the order date. That's pretty much about date hierarchy. Next, since we're talking about tables, this is one of my favorite features. Instead of leaving tables simply like this, I always like to add in extra information into the table itself. Now, you know how whenever we say table, we always think it's just rows and columns of data. But in Power BI, you can actually add charts inside the table. So these charts, or I would say mini charts, are called spark lines in the Power BI table visuals. All you have to do is go back to your data pane and select. Now what I'm trying to do is I have total quantity column. I want to add small trend line charts next to each pie flavor that I have. Hit right click on total quantity and choose add a spark line. Once you choose a sparkline, it will ask you to add a x-axis. Now, since I told you I'm going to create a trend line, it's obvious that my x-axis is going to be a date field. So what I'm going to do is head over to month date and maybe just add months and then hit create. You see how automatically I got these mini charts inside a table. So this is a single visual. I did not add or group any visuals right here. Now this looks okayish, but doesn't really look insightful. The end user will not get anything out of it. In order to make this more insightful, in order to give an extra insight out of this, you can do a couple of formatting settings. So once you click on the table visual, go to the formatting settings and head over to Sparklights. Quick thing is, you see how I have line chart. If you do not like line charts, you can switch the chart type to column. So you can get column charts like this. But I have a trick wherein I use line charts like this, and then I use markers on these line charts and show what is the highest point. So what I'm doing right here is showing the trend of the total quantity by months and then highlighting the highest points. This simply tells me that the flavors apple and the flavor pumpkin does really well towards the end of the year, while all the other flavors are performing good in the first half of the year. So now if the end user, or say if I am the owner of the bakery right here, I can make decisions based on these markers. So this is how you could add extra information to your tables. And apart from just adding information, don't you think this makes it a little more beautiful? Like instead of just seeing rows and columns of data, you can see small mini charts inside a table, and you didn't have to write any DAX, just simple clicks helped you achieve this. And also, since I said formatting, there are a lot of options wherein you can change the colors. Now, since I'm a purple lover, I just simply changed it into purple. So this is how you can improve the look and feel of your tables. Any questions so far? And if you really like any feature that you see, do let me know in the comments. I'll really be happy to know which secret that I revealed today help you. Perfect. Let's move on to empty values. So now what happens is whenever we create Power BI reports, say I have a simple visual right here, which has months on the x-axis and then cost on the y-axis. Looking at this, you might think that, oh, wow, it's beautiful. I like how it's colorful and it's equally spaced. But you see how a couple of months are missing in between? This is because Power BI has an inbuilt feature wherein it hides all the months or all the fields that has no value in it. So in order to make sure you are not lying to your user or you're not hiding data from the user, it's always better to show the zero or null values to the user. Now, when it's a table, it's pretty much easy to do. But when it comes to visual, you have to enable this feature. The way you do that is go back to your data pane, do a right click on month. So basically do a right click on the on the axis that has hidden values. So in this case, a couple of months are missing, and then do a right click there and choose show items with no data. So when I clicked show items with no data, you see how a couple of months popped up with nothing above them. So when I see a visual like this, if I am the end user, I can simply conclude that I have to go ahead and check if these months are really missing values, or did something happen in my store that I have no values for this. So it's really helpful to show, even if you have zero or null values, show the entire data to the user. Do not hide anything. So simple way to do that is select your axis and select enable show items with no data. Perfect. Now let's move to the magic of reference lines. Now, all of us love using line charts to show trends whenever there is time related or date related fields. On the line chart right here, what you see is a beautiful line chart with years on the x-axis, and then I have total cost on my y-axis. Now, this might look really insightful because it's very easy for me to tell that 2022 is the highest, and then 2012 has the lowest. Now, imagine you could add an extra insight to it. So, my personal opinion is whenever you create a report or whenever you're trying to analyze something, you should always have context. You should always have something to compare it against. It's always better because it helps you judge, make changes, and evaluate your decisions. Now, when I have a line chart like this, what I do is I tend to add a baseline. For example, just a simple average line. When you add an average line, it easily tells you whether which years are doing below average, which years need to be worked on, and which years are doing really well. Now, in order to do that, there are two ways. One, you could simply create a new measure, find the average, and then put in the measure inside this visual, which is a long process. Instead, Power BI has inbuilt feature called reference lines. Go to the formatting option right here. All the way to the bottom, you will see something called reference line. Hit on reference line and then click add a line. Once you click add a line, Power BI will automatically suggest what type of lines you could add. Now, since we were just simply talking about average line, I'm going to go ahead and hit an average line. Once I hit average line, you see how I have these the dashed lines right here. Simple. This is the average line that Power BI automatically calculated and returned back to me. To make these more beautiful, you can add data labels right here. For example, I'm going to add something like this. Go to edit this, and then probably maybe I want to add my data value too. Oh, sorry. Yep, that's it. So just by simply adding an average line, adding a data label to my average line, this particular visual became one step further more insightful because now I can see that the years 2012, 2013, 16, 17, 18 are below average. So I need, as a business owner or as an end user, I have to go and look and see what where things went wrong. And then I can see the 2015, 2019, 20, and 21 did really well. So always make sure that whenever you're using any visual, have a baseline, have something to compare your values against. And in Power BI, you have inbuilt features like these reference lines. There is an inbuilt, you can even add a maximum line, you can add a minimum line. So it's all up to you how you use this. So that's the magic of reference lines. Now, coming to my favorite part is analyze and summarize. So you know how sometimes we create beautiful visuals. We have a lot of charts in there, a lot of visuals in there, and then we feel so satisfied that, wow, my visual is looking really good. And then what happens is you send this to your end user. The end user, say, is not a visual person. He is not able to get anything out of your visual. That really makes me sad. So, what I tend to do is once I create a visual like this, I add in one or two lines describing the visual. That makes work very easy because if someone does not want to look what the trends are, he or she can simply read the summary, read those two lines, and understand what's going on. Initially, the pre AI days, I had to do these manually. So I had to add in a text box and then type my comments and then leave it right here. And that would take a lot of time. But Power BI, there is something called analyze and summarize. Just do a right click and hit summarize. Power BI will give you two options, Copilot or custom. If you have access to Copilot, go for it. Simply choose custom if you don't. What it does is gives you beautiful, insightful three-liner insight where it tells you that at $890, 2020 was the highest. What was the comparison compared to the lowest? And lots of other information. Now, the best part about this is it's highly dynamic. So, based on the values that you choose, so say now I'm choosing 2017, you see how the text changed. Just simply unselect it, you get your text back. So you can create dynamic summaries of your visuals just by doing a right click and hitting summarize. And adding summaries like this really helps end users who do not like visuals, saves you time. And this is something which I use on a regular basis. This makes me think about a use case. Say you are a Power BI developer who is always asked to create documentation of everything you do. Create a visual, create a summary, copy the summary, paste it into documentation. Simple, task done, easy. So that's a quick example of how you can summarize. Do I have time? Perfect. Now, since I have little time left, I want to take you to my favorites. One of my favorite things about Power BI is how you can create groups. Now, you remember how I told you about clusters, where Power BI automatically gives you clusters? But when you want to create groups according to your definition, you can use groups. Quick example. I have a simple visual wherein I have days of my week. Now, my ask is I want to categorize these as weekdays and weekends. If you have to do something like this, there is a way wherein you can go to the data source, create a new column, use if or switch statements, make sure you create a calculated column and mark your weekdays and weekends. Instead, you could create groups. The way you do that is go to this particular column, do a right click. You will have something called new group. Now, once you have your group your values. For example, I'm just going to group Saturday and Sunday together. And then I am going to rename this as weekends. And then I'm going to just enable include other groups and going to name it as weekdays and hit OK. Once I do that, Power BI will automatically create a calculated column for me. I just have to insert this and OK, I have to convert this into a table. That's it. So just by simple single clicks, I was able to divide or say group my data into weekdays and weekends. And yeah, that's pretty much about groups. Really, really helpful when you know the defined categories. Next, let's talk about optimization. So the reason why we use Power BI is interactivity. I select anything, anywhere, my entire dashboard changes. Say I'm selecting Apple right here, you see how my values change. I select Sunday right here, you see how my values change. Now, if there is a use case wherein you do not want your users to interact with visuals, simple way of doing that is go to optimize presets, optimization presets, and hit query reduction. What it does is it will stop interaction. So you see how now when I click, no matter where I click, nothing changes. It's because the interactivity is stopped. So repeating it again, if you want to stop the interactivity, go to optimization presets and enable query reduction. If you want to enable the interactivity, just select interactivity and it will again help you to cross highlight or cross filter your visuals. So that's a quick tip. Next step for all the developers right here, whenever you have to create a lot of visuals and make sure it's consistent because consistency is key. If your visuals are consistent, your reports are automatically beautiful aesthetically. What you have to do is just focus on one visual right here, make it as beautiful as possible. Now, this is a simple visual that I have added my data labels, added some white space, I have padding, reduced the space between bars, changed the color into purple. Now, once you're satisfied with this, create all the other visuals in default settings. Simply use the format painter. I am sure all of you know what format painter is, something we use in Excel or Word. But Power BI also has format painter and makes work really easy. All you have to do is select the original visual, hit format painter, and click on the other visuals. You see how just by simple click, I was able to make sure all my visuals are consistent with colors, consistent with font size, font color, and font style as well. So that's a quick tip right here. Make sure you use the format painter. Quick thing I would like to highlight is format painter really works well with visuals of the same type. Now, since all of these were bar and column charts, it was really easy to use. Now, you cannot really use this with a bar chart and the pie chart together because they're totally different charts. So keep that in mind when you're using format painter. Next, tooltips. So you know how I have a visual like this, and then when I hover on it, I get these beautiful tooltips by default, which tells you what my pie flavor and sum of quantity is. If you want to make this a little more insightful, you can add custom tooltips right here. Quick example. For example, when I hover over Apple, I want to probably see just a number with sum of quantity. What you can do is create a new page, convert the page type. So basically go to page information, change the page type to tooltip. Once you hit tooltip, you will automatically see a smaller canvas. All you have to do is drag and drop the sum of quantity. What was it? Sum of quantity. That's it. Go back to your visual, and then here you will have to link your tooltip, find tooltips, choose the tooltip page that you created, and that's it. Now, when you hover over these visuals, the tooltip, you will see the custom tooltip that you created. Now, this is very simple because I just added a simple quantity there. But imagine what if you could add a visual into a tooltip? So basically, when you hover over a visual, you get another visual. Isn't that great? I love using this. Now, quick use case of this. When I have a visual like this, and I am sure my end user has no idea what I'm talking about, I like to add extra information icons for each visual. The way I do that is one, I have a info button created. This info button can be easily created using this particular formula, just dropping it in the chat if anyone wants to know. So what happens is this unique character will automatically give me this eye icon. Once I have that eye icon, I reduce the size, make it as small as possible, switch off my background, and then I just drop it inside my visual right here. And then what I do is I add a tooltip that I created. So this is a tooltip I created where I'm simply telling this visual represents the pie flavor details along with the total quantity. Once I do that, I just have to hover over my eye icon to know what my visual is about. So this is how I use custom visuals, and I think all of you should too. For all those who stuck with me right here, I have two amazing surprises for you. And these are, I would say, I just came across these by mistake, and I really want to share it with you. You know how visuals are very limited in Power BI. So you have bar columns, you have lines and waterfalls and pie and donuts. But sometimes we want to create a lot of visuals that make you stand apart or makes the work simple, beautiful as well. Now, that's a case of where I wanted to use a lollipop chart. So, as the word suggests, lollipop is nothing, just the lollipop that we have. Basically, a stick with candy on the top. Now, say you want to convert the native bar chart into a lollipop chart. I'll tell you why, because once I create this into a lollipop chart, you will see the difference between these visuals. The simple way to convert a bar chart to a lollipop chart is by using error bars in the formatting. Enable the error bars, to just enable it by turning it to on, and then use upper bound or lower bound values. That value should be equal to the x-axis. So the x-axis here is sum of cost. Just drag and drop it right here. Once you do that, go to markers and convert the markers into dots. Because, like I told you, lollipops are nothing, just a stick with a candy on the top. So now I've added these dots, which are my candy, increasing the size to the maximum. Now, this is the very important part is I want to get a stick out of my bar. So basically, I have to reduce the widthness of my bar or basically increase the space between these bars. The way that you do that is you go to bars, go to layout, and you have something called space between categories. Just increase it to maximum and then reduce the size right here, playing around with couple of formatting settings, nothing, just changing the colors right here. You will see how I was able to convert a bar chart into a lollipop chart. Now, when you look at how this makes things easy or makes it visually appealing, is see the space it occupies in your visual. You see how this bar chart takes so much space. These bars are so thick that that's the only thing you look at the dashboard. But you see how these lollipop charts take less space and just highlights the right amount of data that you want to see. So this is how you can convert a simple bar chart into a lollipop chart. Next, for people who are feeling fancy, sometimes we are really bored of all these sharp edges, like sharp rectangles. Imagine you could create rounded corners on the top. Don't you think that would be cool? You could easily do that with the native visuals, again by using the error bars. Enable the error bars. Now, in this case, I am going to choose sum of cost as my upper bound value, doing the same thing in as in changing my shape, increasing the size of my shape, and then going to columns, reducing the space, same method like that I told you before. And then quick thing I am going to do is add padding on the top. And then y-axis. Perfect. And then I want to change the color because I want it to be uniform. Going to bar, changing the color to blue, changing the color to blue, adjusting my size to make sure I have rounded corners. That's it. So basically, just by using error bars, I was able to convert the sharp edges to rounded corners. Also, you see how it takes lesser space, makes the visual clean, gives more breathing room between the bars. So these were the bonus visuals that I wanted to teach you, wherein you can convert a native visual into something new like a native bar chart or column chart into a lollipop chart. And also, instead of having sharp edges, you can go ahead and have these beautiful rounded edges. And that brings us to the end of the session. Any questions, comments, feedbacks, I'm happy to take. Before I wind up, I want to tell a quick thank you to Warwick and Martin for inviting me and having me over. I had a great time.
Thank you, Lakshmi. So for
Mhm.
everyone on the call, a non-Power BI person, right? So I've found this very interesting, very insightful in what you're showing, right? So it's a skill set on its own to be able to come up with or making data beautiful and that people are happy with, etc. And I'm happy to say that's not me. So
Perfect.
no, look, thank you. I found the session really, really good. What about you, Martin?
Yeah, very similar to you, Warwick. As you know, I'm not much of a visualization person. My skills are pretty solid over to the ingesting data, and as we move
Uh-huh.
more towards the visualization, and my skills become less and less, and then till we get to visualization, where yeah, I'm not much good at all. But I found this session really useful and very well presented, and yeah, I picked up some good tips. So I think now even me and Warwick will be able to create a bar chart.
I'll speak for yourself, Martin.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
So no. Any other questions from anyone on the session? Feel free to either put it into the chat window, or you can take yourself off of mute and raise your hand, and we'll get you to ask the question yourself to Lakshmi. So we've got a couple of minutes for that. Excuse me.
Oh, yes. So there's a question by MG. If you hide the tooltip sheet, will it still work? Yes, it will still work. I can quickly show you if you want to see. Perfect. So this was the tooltip that I created. I'm hiding this tooltip page right now. Even if I go back, it will still show. So that's the answer to the question.
Very
Nice.
nice. Thank you.
Mhm. Perfect.
All right.
Teresa, big thank you. I love the spark lines.
Yes.
Yep.
Quick thing I want to tell before we wrap up is Microsoft is conducting Fabric Data Days. I'm not sure if everyone is aware about it. So there are a lot of challenges that are taking place. Like there is a data viz challenge where they give you a data set and you can create beautiful visuals. Even if you are not participating, I would highly recommend go to the contest gallery and look at the visuals that people come up with. And I think like that's one of the inspiration areas where I go to. And if you think you really have the skills, show it off to the world and take part in these challenges.
So, Lakshmi, you mentioned, and I actually, while I was there, I didn't get to the data viz finals. I think you went along, didn't you, Martin, and watched the
Yeah, I
final?
did. I did catch like the end, but I didn't catch all of it.
So,
Oh,
so
okay.
given that you participated in Vegas this year, do you get to participate in the visualizations challenge next year?
Yes, yes.
So
I
there we
mean,
go.
yeah, so it's like you have to become a finalist to participate there. So I was the finalist for the Las Vegas one and I could participate. So I have to participate again, become a finalist, and then I can do it again.
So, like for those of you who are aspiring visual people, this is a really good thing. Like you get to see a lot of different techniques, a lot of different options that you can learn from, and that's the thing. In doesn't matter what we do, right? Martin and I have both said, "Hey, we're not visual people. We don't
Mhm.
dabble in that side of things." But regardless of what you do from a data point of view, that continual learning, because what we work in constantly changes. Okay,
Yes.
so when you've got the opportunity, take advantage of these. Martin, aren't you participating in the data days? Aren't you doing some stuff?
Yeah, yeah, I'm doing quite a bit in it. Me and Heidi opened it up on I don't know, I think it was day one. We did the third session,
Yes.
so that went pretty
Mhm.
well. I think I'm moderating a few and presenting a few. It goes right on till December. Like I think it started last week, and it
Yes.
goes 50 days, so that takes us right up to beyond Christmas. I think is that right, Lakshmi?
Yes, that's right.
So, Martin, have you got some links where people might be able to
Mm.
register and go and have a look? If so, we can put it in the chat for those that may not have known about this to be able to come along and continue their learning. Because the
Well,
beauty of it, while
thanks
you
for
can
putting
come
me on
back
the
and
spot there, Warwick. Like, no, I haven't got any links, but I'll go and find some.
so
I can do that.
the beauty of it is, right, so while you might be able to come back and watch these things, so like we're recording this and you'll be able to come back to the YouTube channel, if you can actually participate when it's happening, right, you get the opportunity to ask some questions and you get that interaction, which is a more invaluable than just coming back
Yes.
and watching the after the fact. Okay, so
Right.
there we go. We've got some links in the chat. If you haven't known about this, make sure you have a look at those links and take advantage of this opportunity moving forward to, improve yourself from a visualization point of view.
Yes.
Thanks for that, Lakshmi, because my Googling skills are even worse than my Power BI skills.
Okay, if we don't have any other questions, we've just clocked over. So I big thank you to Lakshmi for her time coming along, taking us through this session. As we said, it's been quite a good session. We've had some good comments in the chat. We will finish off the recording, and once it gets processed, we will look at getting that up onto the data platform Downunder meetup. Just got a couple of people, got some thank yous, really cool session. So it looks like a good session all round.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for your time, and thanks for staying up so late, Lakshmi.
No worries. Thank you. What the time?
All right.
Yeah.